Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. It's going to be a bit of a special or a bit of a different video, which will be revolving around a certain processor that is really outstanding when it comes to all-around stuff in a mid-range category. So AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, and this was an accident to go with a red shirt, but definitely we're going to make let's say an anti-RGB build just for this one. 6 cores, 12 threads, 95 watts TDP, and quite interesting all-around processor that is in the mid-range category. It can perform quite nicely when it comes to gaming, without a doubt. If you pair it up with a nice mid-range graphic card or even a low-tier graphic card, this processor will do the job quite nicely. And of course, we can't forget that it can still do some work when it comes to rendering and similar stuff like that. So today, AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, we're going to go with benchmarks, synthetic benchmarks, gaming, and of course going to build a nice, maybe for the first time, anti-RGB build just for the show. So let's go and check out the results, build, and everything else. For the anti-RGB build, you can check out the card right here and check out all the details that it is with the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. Now, I know this video is a bit late when it came from the release of this processor, but still I wanted to do some test benchmarks, as I stated in the first part of the video, to check out everything that this processor can do. And this is a quite interesting mid-range processor that can really outperform some higher range processors and really give you a nice bang for the buck, as they would say. So let's start with synthetic benchmarks. Since I already have loads of tests on Cinebench R15, checking out the 5600X compared to 3600X and 10600K, it really does perform much better with multi-CPU benchmark. Then going with the single CPU benchmark, it outperforms 3900X, 3600X, and all the other Intels, as you can see. In multi-core Cinebench R20 test, it is a bit lower than 3700X, but it still outperforms 10600K, and in single core it outperforms every single processor here from 10700K, 3900X, and 10600K. Cinebench R23 in multi-thread, it definitely goes above 10600K and 3600K, but 11600K outperforms it just by an inch. Next to that, single core, it's really neck to neck with 11600K and basically almost sharing the first position with the processors tested. Then we have the Corona render time, which means less is better in seconds. It takes fourth place and beats 10600K and 3600X. Firestrike physics score, it also does quite a great job going neck to neck with 3700X and beating 10700K. Indigo benchmark bedroom takes out the fourth place above 10700K and 3600X. Supercar, the same thing. Time Spice core, actually really, it's taking a last place with 10600K, and that's it when it comes to synthetic benchmark. When we're talking about gaming in average FPS, it does beat 11600K and 10600K in Battlefield 5 on 1080p and 1440p just by few FPS. Destiny 2 also the same story, just by a couple of FPS. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, here we can actually see a bit of a more I would say a bit more difference and a bit more range in FPS. For Honor is also like the past two games. PUBG, it kind of does take some advantage. Shadow of Tomb Raider a bit, it's slightly neck to neck with both processors. Witcher 3, the same thing. So basically, if you're thinking of going with 5600X, it kind of does perform in game slightly better than 11600K or 10600K. But if you're deciding to use this processor for work, render, or whatever else, it outperforms both of them in certain situations, as you can see from the benchmarks. So when we're talking about price comparison per performance in synthetic benchmarks, rendering and gaming, this one definitely wins. So AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, but comparing to the other reviews that you already might have seen, you already know these things. So I was just doing some recap of the knowledge you already had, and something that I wanted to test a bit thoroughly on my own and to share it with you guys. So basically AMD Ryzen 5 5600X is definitely a mid-range king when it comes to processor, and definitely a best buy when it comes to price, performance per gaming and per work, or standard performance in work, so render and everything else. Guys, links are below, but you already know where to buy the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. I would only suggest either getting a B550, some nice decent board with nice frequency on your RAMs. I was using 3600 megahertz of RAMs, and that might make a bit of a difference compared to 32. The sweet spot is around 34, 66 megahertz, but it doesn't bother you if you go either a bit above or a bit below that, as long as it's above 3200 megahertz. But as I stated, you already know all those things. So if you like the build, the videos, and the other build that I stated, that you could check it out with some thermals and everything else in-game, you can check out that build. And don't forget to subscribe for future content, click the thumbs up button for AMD Ryzen, and of course click the notification bell for future content. Hopefully I will see you in another one. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.